I speak about these books, I must declare that my own guilt about doing things that probably you will start to question, or somebody who gave these books away. I was thinking, and I'm sure that we kind of, in the library, it's a very complicated place. We often find something that we don't know enough, and I did that myself. And when I got my second job, I think, and I was told to clear backlog, a whole office full of books in multiple languages and different years, and I had no clue, most of them. So I started clearing them, and now I feel haunted back for my actions, seeing those. But I'll just want to clarify that I am as guilty as anyone else who worked in the library and who dealt with books and gave away potentially valuable things. Okay, I start with this, the first one that we have here. That's how my interest is stimulated by looking at this book. It was kind of, and I was looking through the shelves, looking at the later arrivals of the Chinese special collections. We ordered the Chinese books according to the date of arrival. So I got to the sort of later years. It's kind of 2010, 15, and I saw this particular towel, we call it, and the slipcase with books. So I opened it up and I had a look at the preface, and it was from the 1735, and the preface was written by the emperor, and the quality was excellent, and the paper, which is kind of hallmarks of good books. So I thought, oh, what's going on here? We don't normally get this kind of nice things since 2010. You know, it costs a lot of money, and we don't really have the money to buy them, and unless somebody donate, and you know, if the prices rise, probably people less likely to donate as well. So, and then I saw, I'm sorry that I couldn't show you the first farcical. This is the image of the cover of the first farcical, and we have 6 of them there. It has, somebody has written on it, so I started looking at it and trying to understand what it is. So read it and said, it says, presented by His Excellency Xiaoying, Grand Custodian and Minister of the Households, Imperial Households, October 31st, 1923. And then there was this signature of R.F. Johnston, and in Peking. So that rang a bell, and I took it to the office actually and asked my colleagues, Emma and Nico, because my handwriting skills in English is not very good. So we consulted, and we found that it was actually from the Reginald Fleming Johnston. I don't know if you have seen the film, The Last Emperor. So the Peter O'Toole is the last, the Johnston. So he was the tutor to the young emperor from about 1918 to 1924, that when the emperor was forcibly evacuated from his palace. So he was very closely related to the last emperor. So he was given this book by the Minister of Households in the Imperial Palace, by the minister in charge of the palace. So it was quite exciting. I was quite excited to see that. Oh, and then I started finding out what happened to Johnston's collection. And obviously we know that Johnston came back and retired to become, well, his post in China, and became a professor at SOAS. When he died in 1936, his books went to SOAS Library. So it all matches the stamp there. So I still don't look at it, and it's kind of, we also have another copy of it. And I discovered that there are 3 copies of this book in the UK. About 2 dozen appear in catalogues in China, Japan, and also in WorldCat, maybe about 2, 3. So we have 2 here, and originally SOAS had 2 as part of the Johnston collection. The reason why Johnston was given this book is that Johnston was also very interested in Buddhism. He wrote a book called Buddhist China, it published in 1913. The emperor who printed this as well, who purportedly edited this book, because he was a devout Zen Buddhist. So is the 18th century emperor, passing on the knowledge to 20th century British diplomat and scholar. And so it's kind of chain of events happened that way. Then I think it's kind of, you could see the stamps there, and I don't have to explain. And the books was, as we normally do, and if you have duplicate books, when they come to the library and you look at it and you think this is duplicate, and I'll give away one, I'll keep one, or if nobody wants, I'll probably secretly do something. I don't have enough space. So this is what happened, I think, when it was kind of, I think, 2000s or early, kind of 1990s. This book came, I think this is probably the only one that we have of the Johnston collection, to the Oriental Institute Library. It was discarded from SOAS. So it remained on open shelves as the lendable book at the Oriental Institute Library. And then when Oriental Institute Library, the kind of Chinese sections moved to the China Institute in, I believe it's in late 1990s, is that right? Yeah. And this book went there, and also it was available as a loanable copy. It's kind of, it was discarded, and then it wasn't kind of treated that nicely here either. You can see that all these stamps, stamp of Bodleian, stamp of Bodleian, stamp here, and plenty of stamps here. I think there are more stamps in the first volume of somebody done in Bodleian, and also it says so a stamp, and then it has a council stamp on the top of it. So this is kind of way that this book has arrived here, and then it remained in the Chinese Institute as a loanable book until 2013, when that library moved to now the China Center Library, and then this was moved here. So, and we have another copy, and perfect copy, which was donated by Backhouse. So, although it's kind of lost for SOAS, but I think it's found a good home. We're not going to get rid of them, and it's a valuable book. It's Palace edition, and you could see the printing is very high quality. So what I'm trying to say here in all this is that how these books circulate, basically the circulation history of books, and how we interact with books, and from a slightly different angle. Since I found this, last year, I think, sometime late last year. And the book became a very, now it's become a very treasured book. And it's going to be now, thanks to the curators of the forthcoming Treasured exhibition, it will be displayed in the Treasures exhibition. So it's going to be, it's kind of also explains, well, perhaps shows how the book or the cultural artifacts, their value changes and fortunes changes as a general. And we'll be all probably familiar with the story of the first folio going out from Bodleian and coming back in a painful way. So it is a kind of interesting history here. This is, and then I discovered that this is not alone. This is not the only one. And then we have this one here. It came to us from the British Museum, and it came to us in 1914. And you could see the British Museum stamp, and then you could see the transfer stamp here, but the stamps are, you could see that it's upside down with the tape, so probably the person who's stamping it didn't read Chinese. Or in 1914, you could understand. But this is considered as a duplicate, but I think it's not duplicate. There's no copy in the British Museum, as far as I know. So this is another interesting thing. Also, this is probably one of the only surviving copy of this work. And there are other parts, I think, and the bigger part survives in BNF in Paris. So it's kind of, it's as I say, it left, it's a loss to British Museum, but it's found a good home, and we have been keeping it in a very safe way. And even we have conserved it very nicely in a traditional style, and make it available. Not that it's not clear that what it is, I think. And then there was this old binding which explains that the book was examined by somebody called Chetqua. Tan Chetqua, he was a clay portrait maker. He arrived in London, I think, in kind of late 1760s, and he became a celebrity. A lot of people wanted him to make their portrait in clay. So he had a good business, and he had a studio, and he also had an audience with the king or queen. So it's not kind of, it didn't save it, but it saved it here, which is good for us. And then we have here a book arrived as a donation by Archbishop Marsh, Narcissus Marsh, in early 18th century, and it originally belonged to a Dutch Chinese collector.
To be Chris.
Yeah, and so it came here in 1714. What is interesting here is that this book is it's also a unique copy of this edition. It's a commentary on the 4 books and Confucianism. It's only part of one chapter out of 6 volumes and six chapters. It's about half the chapter, one of the half chapters, which is the chapter, the Confucius Analects. What is interesting with this one is that this is kind of rough bound. You could see that it wasn't really bound properly, string bound like that one. It was just the strings made of paper and put through, and it was expected to be rebound. But they put this way, and then there are 5 copies of this half chapter of the Confucius Analects arrived in Oxford. So we have 5 copies of something that nobody has, but I think it's not much of value. So it's kind of one. And down here, we have, this is the earliest arrival of Chinese duplicates. This one was purchased. This one comes from the donor, John Clapham, donated money or something, and we just can't be sure. In 1606, so bought this. And then we had next year, in 1607, we had Catherine Sands, donated £20, and we bought another one. So it's a kind of a copy of a popular medical text, and we have most of it, and then we have 3 more additional duplicates. I've just brought 2. So you could see, and this is the first chapter 5, and that's chapter 5, and it's almost identical. Unlike the first folio, it's been lucky that I kept it. We have another one here. This is, as you can see, that this is somebody called William Herbert, William Herbert, Earl of Pembroke, and he donated in 1609. So we bought actually 2 things from the same person's donation. I think that's kind of almost like a rebuying. Perhaps this is kind of my suspicions that people who are buying or the Bodleian or his librarian didn't read Chinese and couldn't tell which one is a duplicate and which is not. So we're keeping them put nicely bound and in a good shelves in safe hands. The last one here, we have here, it's an imperial edition and large, and you can see the beautiful, it's very early, it's before Gutenberg, it's 1447 printing. So this both comes from our friend, our donor, Sir Edmund Backhouse. Backhouse donated a very large amount of Chinese material to us. These are both the same text, same printing boards, the wood blocks, printing blocks, but it's you could see that this has an imperial stamp and this doesn't, and it has its own seal, but we could have a look at it and if you're interested. But he bought these books, but it has the paper is different, and this is slightly faded, and this is very clear. So this is obviously in the earliest print runs, and this is probably done later on using the same blocks. So when you talk about duplicates, and I should have qualified with a quotation so that we don't think that these are duplicates. They're duplicates in the sense of title, content, duplicate in the sense of physical duplicates, or duplicates in the sense of the ownership or the history. So it's all different things combined together that we have to think in this way. So what I'm trying to say that it's kind of just to add to our knowledge perhaps a little bit more about how these books are circulated and also how we made meaning of it. The book's fortunes changed, and the Backhouse definitely knew what he was buying. He was fluent Chinese speaker, and he was the expert. So I think that he bought these for the reason that we keeping them, I think, more than because he is interested in the text. He was a book collector. Yeah. I think I stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.